And I said, come over, just come on over, you'll say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town of Portland Weekly Podcast. I'm Dave Kosminski, your host. We are live here in our Town Tech Educational Partnership podcast studio at Portland High School, and lo and behold, this is going to be episode 20. So with us in the studio is obviously our first select woman, Miss Susan Bransfield. Hi, Susan.
Good morning.
How
Good
are
to be
you?
here, Dave.
Hey.
I'm doing fine. How about you?
We're upright. So another day in paradise. So, and also joining us on the line, our esteemed Chatham Health Director, Mr. Russell Melman. So welcome, Russ. Good to hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me on for number 20. I think I've only missed, 2 or 3. So
No.
It's hard to believe we've been going for so long with this.
My God, it's and I think the way it's looking, we'll probably be going for a while longer. My God, it's
Great to be able to get that direct line of communication to residents in Portland. So I think it's great.
yeah, we're getting excellent feedback on that as far as that goes. So it's the type of thing that I think it's the podcasts are serving a very useful purpose. So anyway, so without any further ado, let's get going. And we had our selectmen's meeting last night, Susan,
Yes.
and which was thankfully. Pretty brief. So
I
you
think
want to
it
give us
was
the highlights?
Efficient? Yeah, I thought there was some good information that was shared, Dave. One item is our Complete Streets group. Kathy Herron is the leader of that grassroots group, and they strive to make a walkability, bikeability, and travel in general safer in our community. And one of the things they talked about last night was family-friendly bike routes. And together with a couple of other folks on the committee, Kathy and, there was a couple of other people there as well, and they presented these bike routes that are very convenient and easy. It starts at the police department where you can park your vehicle and then take your bike route on a relatively easy way throughout the downtown area, and crossing Main Street at a crosswalk and being certain that it's not too steep at all. It's on mostly flat ground. It's on a lot of our new sidewalks that the Complete Streets group assisted in getting us to move on putting those in. And also on streets that, while there may not be sidewalks, they're very lightly traveled and there's plenty of room for bikes. So I was encouraged to see that. We're going to be looking at where we can put up signage that would identify the bike route, as well as arrows as to where you would turn. So we'll be working with Kathy and her group on that. We also passed a resolution on solidarity, and it's creating a task force that is going to work on racial equity, diversity, and inclusion in our town. And it will include partners with the task force. And the partners are integral to our town. And they include youth services, the police department, the Board of Education, and young people in our community. And their task will be to not only discuss these issues, but also come up with 2 very tangible activities that can be done, whether that's a group conversation, whether that's an actual activity within our town. We want them to accomplish at least 2 before June 3rd, 2021, which is a year from the date that we passed our resolution and our proclamation on solidarity in Portland. We also talked about re-entry, quote unquote, and that is really dealing with the pending weather. We know that we're going to be getting stormy weather as September arrives and the days get shorter. Up to this point, because of COVID-19, our public buildings, while they've been operating, they haven't been open to the public. Most of the work that we've accomplished has either been, in the case of the library, curbside delivery of books, and in the case of Town Hall, out in the backyard, where we've been able to accomplish signing of documents and giving out permits and things of that nature. But as the days change after Labor Day, in the case of Town Hall, we will be asking that if people need to accomplish some activities within the town, that they call ahead and get an appointment. So it'll be by appointment only. that way we can control the numbers of people, protect our customers and residents from undue exposure to the virus, and also accomplish the activities that need to happen. So more on that as time goes on. We'll be publishing sort of a document that helps people understand how they can go about making those appointments with the various departments. In terms of the library, they are going to be open for browsing and for people to come in and utilize the services within the library starting August 31. It is an abbreviated schedule in that they will allow time during the day to close the library for an hour or so to do some cleaning and make certain that anything they need to do is accomplished. But we look forward to seeing that as well in writing and published on the library's website as well as other places. So both those initiatives were accepted by the selectmen, so we're happy about that. And the last thing I just want to report on is that we will be applying for a Small Town Economic Assistance Program grant, and that grant would assist us in putting in new water pipes in the Brownstone Avenue area. It's an area that unfortunately has experienced some breaks, and so with having this application in, we have an opportunity to get some additional state dollars, well deserved for Portland, that will allow us to put in new pipes.
Sure.
The last thing I do want to mention was an announcement, and that is that the splash pad should be open soon. The final programming of the electronics associated with that project are being completed this week, so we'll be letting you know more information about that as well.
Awesome. And the fields look great out there. There's there seem to be more people utilizing the the exercise equipment, and walking, and so forth. So it really looks great. And that when we get that splash pad, I think that'll be a great addition.
I agree.
That our citizens can use. Yes, now it's good that we can get that. Hopefully, we can get that steep grant, the transite or asbestos pipe that was put in back in the 1950s. That's kind of what we replaced on High Street here when we had those. And,
That's right.
It's basically the brakes have moved to the weakest link in the chain, so to speak. So anyway, that's great, Susan. Also, I think from what an email you sent out last week, our Congressman John Larson is going to be making a visit.
Yeah. For those that are interested in seeing Congressman Larson, he will be in Portland on Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m., and he's visiting our riverfront park. We will be practicing social distancing and mask wearing. And another thing that he's bringing with him is an ice cream truck.
Ooh.
So if you haven't had any ice cream yet, come on down and say hi to John and have a little something to eat.
That's going to be awesome. Maybe we can persuade him to come up and do a podcast. So.
That'd be great.
Awesome. That's fantastic. All right, great. Thanks, Susan. All right, Russ, I think you're in the on deck circle, so step up to the plate and see what we got in Chatham Health.
Sure. So really excited to hear of all the exciting things happening in Portland. And I would just make a plea to you, Susan, if you are looking for another partner to participate on this diversity and equity commission, that think about your local health department, Chatham Health District, and a representative if you want. I'm not putting you on the spot now. I'm just saying, sit on that, and we'd be happy to send a representative if you like somebody from public health there.
Thank you.
COVID-19, here we go. We're doing well again. I mean, I've been saying, I think, the same thing cautiously to start, and now sort of more happily since June. We're doing well with COVID-19 in Portland and elsewhere in Chatham Health District. We're not seeing a lot of new cases every day. I mean, there are many days that go by where we get no new cases across the entire district, let alone in Portland. And the cases that we are seeing are almost exclusively from travel-related exposures. So, people are still choosing to travel, people who had made plans long ago or even more recently to go on vacation to parts of the country where I think now the number of states that's on the state travel advisory list are somewhere in the area of 34 states and territories are on that list. So If you look at a map, it mostly looks like you can't go anywhere without quarantining when you return, except for most of the Northeast. But that is not, it's not an abstract concept. The people who are getting COVID-19 in the state of Connecticut, at least in Chatham Health District, are people who are reporting that in the week or two before they became sick, they traveled somewhere where COVID-19 community transmission is high. And that's what community transmission looks like. We interview these folks and we ask them what they did, and they travel. Some of them report, yes, we went out, we went to the beach, we went to a couple restaurants, there were people who were not wearing masks. Even people who report minimal activity in communities when they went down and report almost exclusively staying with family members when they were away, you may trust your family member more than you trust other people out in the public, but you cannot separate your family members from the communities in which they live. So people are traveling and staying with family, and so some of those family members are going to work and going shopping and going out, and they come home and bring COVID-19 back into that home and are transmitting it very efficiently and effectively to those visiting nutmeggers. So they come back, and that's what we see. People are reporting travel. No other sort of exposures to COVID-19. So we're not seeing a lot of that, but what we are seeing, that's what people are reporting. So I just want to, once again, discourage our residents from going to places where there is known and widespread sustained community transmission of COVID-19. It is a risk. And two, I want to emphasize the importance of quarantine if you go, when you return. Because what we don't want to see is exposure in one of those places, a return to Connecticut, and a return to your normal life where at some point you're going to work and you start to feel sick. And then you've exposed all your colleagues, your coworkers, or you went shopping and exposed people who were in that store with you. We really want to avoid those things because, as I look around, I see people enjoying going to restaurants again. Everybody likes now getting their hair cut. Just don't forget that before June 17th, people were really not getting their hair cut. So remember what you looked like before June 17th. We really don't want to go back there. So we don't want to trigger more community transmission where we have to start talking about pulling back on some of the things that the governor is now allowing. We can now have, weddings and private social events of up to 100 people outside again. I mean, we don't want to have to start pulling back on those things. So let's observe the quarantine, the travel-related quarantine, or better yet, don't put yourself in that position to even have to quarantine by traveling.
Sure.
The other thing I'd like to talk about is the changes that the governor has made to the mask mandate. According to Executive Order 7NNN, which went into effect on August 14th, everybody has to wear a mask in public where you can't be assured of being able to stay 6 feet away from others. Anybody who enters a place of business, restaurant, salon, or any other business, grocery store, gas station, convenience store, doesn't matter what it is, you must wear a mask at all times. That's not different. What is different is that the governor has now said that because of reports of people abusing the medical exemption, there used to be a medical exemption. So what that said was, if somebody has a medical condition that makes wearing a mask for them hazardous to their health or dangerous, they don't have to wear a mask, and nobody can ask them what their medical condition is, and they don't have to prove it. You can basically just walk into a place of business and claim a medical exemption. That is now different under this new executive order. There is still a medical exemption, but you have to have a note. And you have to be able to produce that written document to the store owner, or if you're out in public, to a police officer if they happen to stop you and ask you. That is a written note from a licensed medical provider, or in some cases you can get one from the Department of Developmental Services or other state agencies that provide services for people with emotional, intellectual, and physical disabilities. Because it's not just people who have, severe COPD or emphysema or things like that, end-stage congestive heart failure that, make it dangerous to wear a mask. Some people just can't wear a mask because they have a developmental disability that makes it impossible. Maybe it's a tactile issue for people with severe types of autism. They can't have the mask on their face. They rip it off. They just can't keep it on themselves. So there are other conditions that would warrant some exemption. But if somebody walks into a restaurant, for example, even to pick up pizza, you need to have a mask on. And please be patient with those business owners. They are now, in essence, the mask police. And so if you walk into a business and they ask you to put on a mask, and you say, well, I've got a medical exemption, and they ask you for that piece of paper, that documentation, please don't get upset or angry with them. Contrary to what I've been hearing in some circles, you don't have some constitutionally protected right to walk into a private business and not follow their rules. If their rule is that that you can't enter without a mask, you can't enter without a mask. You cannot claim that you are being oppressed. Get that note from your medical provider, and then everything will be okay. Unless that business owner, and this is also in Executive Order 7NN, unless that business owner decides that for the health and safety of their employees and other customers, they will not permit people in their establishment without a mask, even with a note. So it is up to the individual business owner to decide whether or not they want to permit customers or employees to be in their place of business without a mask, even if that person has a note from a licensed medical provider. It is up to them to decide. So there will be some business owners that say, if a customer comes in with a note, or I have an employee that has a note, I'm going to allow them to be in my business. But there are, and there will be, business owners who decide, I don't want anybody in my establishment without a mask, and that is up to them. And so you will have to follow the rules. So that's sort of, I'd say, the biggest change that we're seeing. And I think it does reflect the specificity of and the narrow scope of what really is considered dangerous when it comes to wearing a mask. What conditions are dangerous for people to wear a mask? And they are very limited. I don't expect to see a lot of people coming into places of businesses that have these conditions and are able to produce a note from their physician, because quite frankly, most of those conditions that make it dangerous to wear a mask also make it extremely dangerous to be in places where you might be exposed to COVID-19 out in public. I would think that any doctor that's going to write a note for a person, one of their patients, that says it's dangerous to wear a mask, is also going to be advising them to limit the places they go.
Mm-hmm.
To say, you know what, you've got end-stage heart failure. If you get COVID-19, it really is going to lead to a bad outcome. Or you've got emphysema or COPD. We really don't want you exposed to COVID-19, so we would recommend that you not do those things out in the public anyway. But, of course, everybody has to get groceries. People have to get gasoline and pay for it, and then at least minimally, pick up prescriptions and things like that. So there are circumstances where I could envision somebody producing that note because they just have to take care of some basics. But please be patient with business owners. And if you see somebody without a mask in a grocery store or in a pharmacy or in a gas station paying for gas, please check your outrage. And please, my first assumption would be that person has a medical reason for not wearing a mask and that they have produced that to the manager, to the owner. If it does worry you, it does upset you, you can always call Chatham Health District. You can also always call 211 to file a complaint, or better yet, call the business owner themselves after your experience there and say, I saw somebody in your business today when I was doing X, Y, or Z. They weren't wearing a mask, and it made me uncomfortable, and I just want to know if you're asking people for a doctor's note, if you're letting people in without a mask, if you are asking for that note from a licensed medical provider. So start with a conversation, a calm conversation with the business owner instead of a confrontational one with the business owner or with the store clerk or with that person who's not wearing a mask. If you're not satisfied with that, with what you have discussed, then you can always call 211 to file a complaint. You can always call Chatham Health District if it's a restaurant or a salon, and file a complaint. But also, I do give everybody listening permission. Once again, if you are in a public setting, in a store, at an event, and you feel uncomfortable with the setting because there are people who are not wearing masks, I give you permission to just leave. I give you permission to not go back to that business until, they're taking steps to make you feel safe. Nobody's forcing you to go into a particular place of business. So, your safety and your health is primarily and first and foremost your responsibility before it is the responsibility of any other town entity. So start with protecting yourself, and then move on down that line by calling the business owner, calling the health department if you have to, or the police if you really have to. So I just want to put those things out there because, there are changes, and people are either not going to be aware of those changes. So let's be patient. Chatham Health District has already sent notifications to all the establishments we regulate. So, salons, barbers, cosmetology establishments, restaurants. We've sent that notice out to all of them, so they should all be aware of the changes. But as with any change, it takes time. So, we're going to be patient with our business owners as they adopt these new policies, and as should you. That's my request to everybody.
Sure.
But even if things are new to everybody and people are looking at all these new changes, doesn't mean that we are in a place where we are very concerned about going out in public and being exposed to COVID-19. Because again, like I said, we're seeing we're in a really good place here locally. So, such a good place that I would be surprised, if I went to the grocery store, if anybody I came into contact with had COVID-19. So that's where we're at, and I'll stop there.
Great. Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And obviously with the approaching of September 1, I think a lot of the school districts are in their final stages of preparation. I know a couple of schools. I know Colchester pushed back their start date a little bit, but I think that's going to be another adjustment that everybody's going to have to make.
Sure. I mean, we're watching a lot of things are sort of changing at the end of August, beginning of September. Among the big ones are, people coming back from vacations at the same time that they are going to be coming back to college and going back to school. So people come, especially colleges and universities, that come from all over the country. And I know our colleges and universities that are local here in Connecticut are doing their best to plan for, A, quarantining those individuals when they come from out of state, and B, how to approach testing and quarantine and isolation for those who are sick, and contact tracing, and all these things that we need to do from a public health perspective to make all these things possible. All the schools, colleges, and universities are working really hard to make those things, to tighten up those processes, the channels of communication, and we're working with Charles Britton, superintendent of schools in the school district in Portland. We've been meeting just about every week for the last couple of months, talking about plans and what things will look like, and what if there's a case, and what do we do. And there's a webinar today at 3 o'clock I imagine there'll be hundreds of people on that webinar, from school district employees, superintendents, nurses, local health departments, the state health department, the State Department of Education, talking about contact tracing.
Sure.
In K through 12 schools. So, we're looking at all these things changing, and we're going to be following closely any impacts they may have on COVID-19 in the community. But right now, I'm hopeful that we can sort of get back to something that looks somewhat normal, especially as it relates to school.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, again, Russ, thanks for all your great work and your staff for doing what you do, and I think that's a testament to where our numbers are in the state and where our numbers are in the Chatham Health District. So thank you again, and hopefully we'll same time, same station next week.
Yeah, keep it going.
We'll keep it going. So again, thanks so much. Also, Russ, while I got you to, I'm the chair of the Sustainability Committee for our American Waterworks Association, and I know we had a representative, Steve Knopf was a rep from the Chatham Health District, and since he's retired, if you have anybody else that's would be available to step in, we meet probably once every 5-6 weeks, but we're doing an upcoming virtual seminar in October. So
sure, send me the details, Dave.
I will. All right. Thanks, Russ. All right, Susan. I think Bob has been running around like a chicken with his head cut off here, trying to keep the. I don't know if you want to give people just a brief update on where we are with the brush pickup. I know they've got crews that are doing a yeoman's job getting it out there, and we've got a ton of brush that's coming into the transfer station.
I think it goes beyond ton. If you're down into the transfer station, take a look at the brush pile.
It's huge.
Dave, it's huge. Yeah, and it's growing. I'm asking Bob to send pictures so that I can post them on my Facebook page and people can see how much of their backyard and their front yard and their side yard is now down on
Sand Hill Road.
Yeah, I guess it's over there. So anyway, we're progressing nicely with the curbside pickup, and that will continue for probably another 5+ weeks because we have a lot of roads and a lot of brush to pick up.
Sure.
We have rented a special machine that's helping with picking up the brush, and it's getting picked up pretty quickly once
Yes.
they get to your street. We'll also be seeing our crews out assisting with the chip sealing.
Yep.
That got delayed due to COVID-19. Some of the batch plants were not producing at the level that we needed them to. So we delayed that. And then, of course, we had a storm. So the chip sealing got delayed from that. But you'll see our crews out in September taking care of those roads. They're on our website, whichever street you may live on. Take a look and see if you're one of the streets that's going to be affected. In addition, we're doing a nice job of repaving on High Street between Carlson Drive and Bartlett Street.
Yes.
And there's been some problems in that area. So now it's going to be nice and smooth, and it'll be a beautiful change to the High Street area. So that's a project looking forward to completion. And then the salt shed, which is one of our steep grants, and it's being completed by a contractor. It's actually a local contractor, Butler Construction, is shoring up that building and making certain that it is environmentally sensitive to the fact that it is near an aquifer.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that everything is in compliance. We're doing a nice job on that project, and that should be being completed very soon as well. So in terms of brush, if you still have brush that you want to bring to the transfer station, there is a modest fee that you will need to pay starting today, which is the 20th of August. And as you go in, just have Matt show you to go to the scale, or Roger, who's there. Please work with our employees. They're doing a great job at our transfer station, making certain that our town's getting cleaned up and that things are progressing nicely.
Sure. And by the way, with your yearly pass, you also get 2 free brush coupons. So
That's right.
You can utilize those. So
And then in the spring, Dave, there's going to be another curbside pickup. That's our semi-annual semi-annual brush pickup. So a lot of opportunities to clean up our yards, and hopefully the storms stay away, but we're prepared in case they do come again.
Great. All right. I think that about sums it up for episode 20. And again, our episodes are available on wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's iHeart, Yanker, Stitcher, or wherever. We also post-produce them so we can get them onto the public access Comcast channel on 15, where we put visuals to them. So it's great information. Again, you can, it's on demand, so you can listen to it in your car, or you can listen to it at home or whenever you get time. So we do appreciate, and also make sure you subscribe. So when we do our new podcast, you get notified. So on behalf of all of us here at the Town Tech Educational Podcast Studio, I'm your host, Dave Kosminski, with Susan Bransfield, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much. Stay home, stay safe, and please wash your hands. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski. Please tune in every week for new and relevant conversations about the town of Portland. You can find us at portlandct.org or at YouTube/Town of Portland, and now wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please consider subscribing and sharing with friends. This podcast was produced by the Town Tech Educational Partnership Program, which is a partnership between Portland High School and the Portland Town Hall. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or organization, check out towntech.org/podcast to learn more.